Hello, everyone. As Oscar told you already, this is going to be the second session of the webinars that we prepared for MINKE. We are going to cover a little bit more advanced subjects than we did a couple of days ago. I hope I explained myself properly during the webinar, and please, any questions that you have, I can answer them at the end. Okay. So, as you can see on my screen, I will show you the presentation with all the content, but also we have on the side a terminal that we are going to explain later that will show us a way to interact with the kit that allows us to control and configure and debug in a more advanced way. This is one of the main parts of today's webinar, so it's going to be always with us on a side. Okay. So to be able to do what we're going to do on this webinar, we do need a computer. Any OS could work. We use a micro USB cable to be able to connect or keep to the computer and talk to it and interchange some data. Obviously, the kit, the Smart Citizen kit, we are using a Wi-Fi connection, so we can test and debug and see how we configure things around networks. And this is a specific tool that has different options, but we choose this one because it is pretty easy to install in almost all computers, and it's a very robust project that's very common for people that's not into terminals and stuff like that. So the idea is that we need a software to talk via serial terminal to another device, and the Arduino IDE, that's an environment to program microcontrollers, also has a tool to talk to them, and you even get as a bonus a tool to plot data, and we are going to see how we can use those. So it's pretty easy to install. You can find it on the net. Later on the presentation, we show the link to it, but if you search for arduino.cc, you will find a web page where you can download it, and it's free software, so it can be used without any cost, and it's an open source project also, it's the same as Smart Citizen. Okay, before we start with this console stuff and shell things, we're going to start with the simplest part is how do I update the firmware on the Smart Citizen kit? Okay, as you remember on the last webinar, we explained the data board of the Smart Citizen kit that has several components. The main components that we are going to take care today are the two microcontrollers. The SAMD21 is this small black box on the center, is the main processor that takes care of reading sensors, calculating stuff. All the main tasks are executed inside it. So the main firmware, it's the software that runs the kit. Let's say kind of his own OS runs inside this chip. But also the Wi-Fi chip, the ESP8266, that's his name, has a different software that runs, that's also customized. So updates on ESP are less common because this is a simpler piece of software, but still sometimes we need to update it. And the process to update the microcontrollers is different. So we're going to go by one. The most common process is to update the SAMD21 firmware. We do it not that often, but every now and then we add some new features or we fix problems, etc. So it's you have to update it more or less often in terms of you have to update it more or less often. To update the firmware, you can check for new versions on the GitHub website. We have a repository with all the code is uploaded very often. And you don't need to remember the link because the kit will provide that for you automatically. So as you remember, the kit has a reset button on the side that we showcase here on this slide. Depending on the type of case and the type of kit that you have, you will find it, as you can see here, in different places. Maybe you will have a water sensors like this in MINKE project, and you will have to click it via an external, with a pen or something like that. And when you click this reset button twice, your kit will go to a mode where you can upload the firmware. Before doing that, it's important that you back up what we call your token. Your token is the ID that you inserted in the kit when you did the onboarding process, and you can check it with your smartphone. You can connect to your kit when it is in setup mode, as you did on the first time, and check the token. You can write it down if you haven't done it before, and then you can proceed with the firmware update. So for the update, you just have to click twice the kit. I don't know if it shows there. Okay. So if I do click the reset button twice, you will see that the LED on the kit turns green. And in my computer, a new device appeared. This device showed like a pen drive, like a USB drive, where I can just drag a file and upload it to it. I'm going to open a file browser. You will see it here. Sorry. And if I go here, you can see SCCK21. I will have a link, an HTML file that I can open, and it will redirect me to a GitHub repository where I can download the firmware. Okay, as you can see here on the bottom, I have the source code, but a binary file that ends with a UF2 extension. That's the one that we can use to update our firmware. If I just download that file to my computer, by clicking it, sorry, just a second, there you go. Then I have it here, the UF2 extension file, and I can just drag it to my kit. There you go. No. Sorry. Here. And put it here, okay? When I do that, the kit starts blinking green, and at the end, it reboots itself with the new firmware. As you can see, the device disappeared from my computer because the kit is already, again, working as a normal device, not as a USB storage device. And let me just fix this again. Okay. So here on the slide, you can see the link to the GitHub repository where you can download this file. And as you see before, if you put the device in update mode, you will have a link directly on your computer. As simple as that, the kit has a new version, and you're done with the SAM update. Remember that in some cases, the firmware and on the ESP chip also changes. So to be sure about that, you can check it on the GitHub page when you download the firmware. If you also need to flash the other chip, they will appear together, both files. And also you can check it by connecting to the kit again, putting it in setup mode, as we explained on the previous webinar, and connect with your phone or a computer. If the ESP needs an update, a pop-up will appear, like the one on the screen, saying to you that you need to update that firmware. You also need just to download that file and select it with a file selector that will appear on the web page. and the update will be done via Wi-Fi, not via USB. So the kit can even be connected to battery. It doesn't need to be connected via USB to your computer for this update to work. Another option is to update it manually. If for some reason you think that you need to update the ESP firmware and the kit doesn't show to you the window to do it automatically, you can force the update. The procedure is the same. You put it in setup mode and red LED. You connect to it with a computer or a phone. And as you can see here on the screen, there is an info icon on the right side. By clicking it, you will get to this screen, and there is the option to force the firmware update on the ESP. And from that point, the procedure is the same as before. You will be shown a screen with a file picker screen where you can choose the file and upload it. Okay,